Black Rose series part 10, but before we get into part 10, I do have an announcement for the channel. So I'm hosting something that's called the What If Tournament. Currently we have 5 what ifs put in place. You, my viewers, are able to submit your what if idea, and I will make a thumbnail and it will be on the tournament. Currently we have 5 what ifs, all sent by different people. Myself has also already submitted my own. This is hosted by me, so your what ifs will be sent and I will be doing them. This is what this tournament's about. To be a what if Ruby, to be a what if My Hero, what if Asta. Those are the main ones I'm familiar with. But y'all can submit your idea and it will show up on the board. Some of your ideas may not enter the tournament due to reasons. But if your idea does not make it in by the last remaining 19, I'll be hosting another what if tournament next year. Anyway, let's get right on into the story. What y'all came for. Black Rose. What if Ruby was raised for the Grimm? Part 10. We last left off with Ruby on the back of her mother, as Darren was watching over, Ruby asleep, and John just being John, unconscious in the back. We're actually going to go to, Weiss. As Weiss was fighting with her family, because she genuinely made friends with Blake, Yang, and John at the time. But of course, because of what Beacon fell, she had to go back to, her father, pretty much in Atlas, if I remember. As she would not stand for the criticism and all that. Just like in canon. Yang and Blake were on a journey, as they had met with each other in our journey, in a way trying to find Adam, but Adam is at a different location because of my current events, being several White Fang bases and operations have halted because of Ruby's Grimwolves. So they don't run into Adam at all for the time being. As we go to Frost and Shadow, who's in like a tower of a White Fang base, as we just see a whole bunch of White Fang members frozen in ice. Some just laying on the ground with blood pouring out. And we just see Shadow just destroying pretty much the systems and all that. As they leave, they hear a howl. As they look off in the distance and they see, Ruby's mother coming through, just stopping, coming towards them. As they howl to signal, Sir Martin notices this and starts walking that way. Now, I'm going to say, Weiss, Blake, Yang, Nora, and Ren, and Crow, all make it to Haven. The only exception, they did not run into that little Salem's assassin. Now, we go back to where Darren is looking over. We're almost towards Haven, so that's good. As he's just looking around, seeing all the Grimm and all the around them, as then something taps on his shoulder as he turns around with his weapon in hand, as it's Eclipse. Eclipse, what are you doing here? As he just moves his head in a way to look in a direction. As he does, he sees quite a few flying vehicles. That's odd. Sorry, Ruby, but I'm gonna have to borrow this. As he reaches into Ruby's bag, pulling out the binoculars, and looks at it, he zooms in, seeing it's the White Fang symbol. While Ruby's out, I'm gonna give you orders, if you don't mind that. As Eclipse just simply nods in agreement. Ruby's mother, do you mind that? As Ruby's March keeps on walking. I guess she doesn't mind. Focus on the the White Fang. We need to get rid of them. They've been a pain in Ruby's side for a while now. As several of the Grimwolves would start running towards the flying ships, heading towards Haven, as Adam would happen to be on one of these flying ships. As then suddenly a whole bunch of frost would come over, basically freezing up the wings. Repeat, we're having some technical difficulties. Repeat, we're having some technical difficulties. As Adam's like, what's going on? Apparently our wings have been frozen, sir. What? As they just come flying down and just crashes into the dirt. Same with about 3 to 4 other White Fang jets. Planes. As the White Fangs start tumbling out of their planes, as Grimwolves would be closing the distance. What is it? As Adam would hop out of his plane, obviously. As the White Fang are grabbing their weapons. As several Grimwolves start to, attack the earlier jet that landed closer to the Grimwolves. As they hear screaming. Men, prepare your weapons. We're under attack. As Adam prepares his sword. As several Grimwolves would come out from the forest, jumping towards the White Fang members and Adam, they would start opening fire. Adam would release his sword and cut 3 or 4 of them immediately. As one would try to sneak him from behind, but Adam would quickly just slice it in half. As the White Fang are using their guns, trying to dwindle the numbers, but it seems like they won't stop coming. So, we've managed to regroup with one of the other fallen jets. A few White Fang members survived. Good. Make a perimeter. We don't want any of them getting close. As the remaining White Fang members just huddle around Adam's jet as they're cutting down the Grim left and right. Or he is, at least. The rest are shooting the Grim. And this is when Ruby would wake up. So we go to Ruby as she wakes up. I actually slept. No nothing, no dreams. As then she looks over and sees the fire and all that from the, destroyed planes. What's going on? As she looks over and doesn't see Darren. Darren? She decides to investigate. As it looks like the White Fang has somehow managed to get a foothold from the Grim attacking. As then a huge, rain of spikes come through, taking out several White Fang members. What is that? As they look over and see that the Frost Grimwolf had landed on their jet, and it seems the top of it is frozen with ice, and several of their White Fang members are down. As they shoot at it, but it simply uses its hands to block. As it pulls its blade out and just slices towards the White Grimwolf, being the Frost. As the large red slash that he sends out managed to cut off its arm, but it uses its ice to quickly, stop the wound. As in this, Darren would come out with his weapon and swing it towards Adam as he managed to block with his sheath. Who might you be? Just an enemy. As he would constantly just slice, as both of them are wearing, their masks. As they would be going back to back with their weapons, hitting, back to back. I don't know if I went through Darren's weapon, but I believe it was a sword of some sort, or chain. As they were just trading blows while the rest of the Grim were taking care of the White Fang. As Ruby was making her way over, Darren is simply just fighting back left and right. Do I know you? I don't know, as he quickly parries Adam's slash and kicks him back. He simply just does a backflip and lands on his feet. As the Ice Grimwolf, stands behind, about to throw a punch, as Adam simply just did a roundhouse kick to its face, sending it flying off. before his sword will be caught by a chain. I got you. As he pulls back, as trying to separate his sword from Adam, but he simply just goes along with the chain and then just punches Darren in the face. As his mask falls off, as Adam gets a look, I know you. You're that traitor, Darren. As Darren looks back up, it's been a while, Adam. I thought you had better sense of skill than this. I'm no fool. Your ways are just dooming the Faunus race. And how do you know I'm trying to do the best for our race? You're just causing more chaos and mayhem. And look around. As Adam looks around, as he doesn't see any of the White Fang members, they've already been taken care of. You know nothing. As he swings and does like a red slash, as Darren dodges it, as several Grim Wolves start to move in, as he simply swings his sword before jumping in the air and sending another slash, taking out several of the Grim Wolves. Ruby, who's making her way there using her semblance, doesn't notice the fighting and all that has come down. She doesn't hear much fighting. But she's making her way towards the crash site. As Darren decides to rush at Adam. This is the end. I'm not letting you do anything else. I'm just going to take you and turn you in. Turn me into who? As Adam would simply just kick Darren, send him flying to the ship. As it looks like he's about to go do a downward slash at Darren. As, well, the Frost Wolf Grim simply grabs Adam and just sends him through trees. Thanks. As Darren gets up. You're working with the Grim. Salem and I have a deal. I don't work for Salem, Darren. As he pulls out his sword, it just charges at the two. As then it's basically a one-arm Frost Wolf Grim and Darren versus Adam. Which Darren is going in with his sword and Frost is going in with his claws. As Adam is deflecting their blows while handling a 2v1. As he would do a large vertical slash towards the Grim Wolf, as he manages to dodge it, but it manages to cut his leg a little. As Darren tries to wrap his chain around Adam, as he simply just slices the chain apart with his sword. You stand no chance. As then, it looks like the Frost Grim Wolf decides to hold him with its one arm. And just tries to hold him in place while Darren comes in with the swing. Adam quickly grabs his sword as it's charged and simply does a full-on, slashing the Frost Grim Wolf in half, as its two pieces fall to the ground. As Darren, who had barely managed to dodge Adam's slash that cut, Frost in half, slides back. You're very skilled, as expected of you, Adam. You caught me off guard there for a little bit, Darren, but I have you figured out. You don't stand a chance. As then more Grim Wolves start to surround him. I'm the one with all the Grim around here, you know. So I suggest you think quickly, Adam. I'll simply slice all of you down. It doesn't matter how many there are. Y'all don't stand a chance against the White Fang. As he prepares and just starts going on, deflecting with Darren, as Ruby would arrive, as she would look around, seeing all the slaughtered Grim Wolves, and then notice Frost, or Freeze. I always forget that Grim Wolf's name. But anyway, sees that he was cut in half, and she is visibly angry. As Her eyes then go towards Adam, being the only one with a sword, of course, other than Darren, but she knows Darren wouldn't do so. As she rushes at Adam, with her scythe out. Why, you? As she swings down her scythe, as Adam notices at the last second and pulls up his sword to block it. As we see, well, her legs have been covered with all the grim fur, and one of her arms has as well. As she starts putting pressure down on Adam, who's holding up the sword with both his hands, as he tries to kick Ruby, as she turns into rose petals and comes behind and hits Adam in the back, sending him flying forward with a thrust, which sends him into a tree. As he gets back up and turns around, he barely dodges, Crescent Rose by ducking, as the two trees behind that tree that he was, they hit, are cut in half. As Adam uses his sword and tries to fight back, as Darren is exhausted and just watching this. As Ruby and Adam would deflect blows. She's fast. I need to think of a countermeasure quickly. As Ruby would then go and swing with the Crescent Rose, as Adam would quickly block with it, noticing Crescent Rose falling to the ground. What? As then he gets punched square in the face, letting go of his sword, and his mask goes flying off. As he hits the tree, ugh! My head. What happened? As he looks up and sees just Ruby, just constantly just punching him. As he's standing up, he's getting punched in the face. As he's up against a tree. As she hits so hard that she breaks the tree behind him. As Adam's knocked out, leaning across the back of the broken tree. As she's about to give a killing blow is when her hand gets grabbed. Ruby, that is enough. No, he needs to pay for what he did to Frost. As Darren is barely holding Ruby's strength back, and this is with the grim arm, by the way. That it's really stronger than what it normally was. Listen, we need him alive, Ruby. Why? You see what he's done to the Grimwolves. You've seen what he's done to Frost. They're gone. There's nothing that can replace that. You need to calm down, Ruby. As she would swing back, just hitting Darren in the face. He's saying fly to the ship. His shoulder is dislocated. Ah! Ruby! And then she calms down and realizes what she did. Before she turned to rose petals and just disappeared. As Darren stands back up, he gets hit by a claw in his right shoulder where it relocated it. Oh! As he looks back and Eclipse relocated it. Eclipse. Thanks, I guess. Hey, can you go check on Ruby? As Darren can now move his dislocated shoulder again. As it was relocated. As Eclipse goes to check on Ruby. Darren goes over to Adam, who has a pummeled face full of fists, as he was hit pretty hard. Luckily, you're lucky I need you alive, Adam. As he grabs Adam, puts some chains around his arms and his legs, as then just tosses him on the Grimwolf's back, take him to Ruby's mother, as he's holding Adam's sword. And we see Ruby, who is just crying in an area. Why? Why another one? As she punches a tree, as like a light beam just goes through like 3 to 4 trees. And she doesn't know she did that. As she just hits another. But this time, the tree freezes. She doesn't also notice that. Because she's too fed up in sorrow and anger at the moment. As Eclipse is watching from a tree behind Ruby. and another Grimwolf has appeared behind Ruby. That's odd. The Grimm thinks. Also, Frost, as soon as Ruby laid eyes on Frost's body, it disappeared. Kinda like how the white Grimwolf disappeared. Why does this always happen? Why do they always want to take family away from me? They're the only things I've got left. She sits down at like a lake area, as tears are going down her face. As Shadow appears next to Eclipse, as they look at each other and nod, as they approach Ruby. As Ruby turns over with tears in her eyes. What are y'all doing here? As both of them just look at each other and nod, as then they just lean up against Ruby, trying to say, calm down in their own way. As Ruby would basically, essentially just cry herself to sleep there. As Shadow would grab her and take her back to Ruby's mother. Now we go to John. Ugh, what happened? As he wakes up and turns over, he just sees an unconscious Adam. Oh, who are you? Don't worry, that's just Adam, leader of the White Fang. The what? The leader of the White Fang, or one of them at least? Okay. I guess that's alright. So are we gonna make our way to Haven, or... How do you know we're making our way to Haven? I don't know, the town over there? As they can see Haven in the distance, which the White Fang, the same thing that happens at Haven in canon, does still happen, just without Ruby, I think. As they would arrive, and it's when everyone was really evacuating for the most part, because Grimm started moving in after the White Fang attack and all that. As they would move out, and all head to Atlas for the most part. As the Grimms would show back up, Shadow Eclipse would show back up with the Ruby asleep. Is her little, anger issue out of the way for now. As Eclipse nods, I still understand how you understand me. It doesn't really matter, though. As he just looks at the moon, as it was happened to still be nighttime. And that's the end of part 10 of What If Ruby Was Raised by the Grimm, also known as the Black Rose series. Remember to like and subscribe for more.